Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelava, and this is Speedplay Germany and Hearts of Iron 4, number 4. Apparently the United Kingdom has threatened nationalist Spain. We'll see if that does them any good. We're moving all of our forces to Romania as they just refused arbitration from us, which would have given their lands to the Hungarians. So honestly, I do kind of understand that. Belgium has also joined the Allies, which is terrible. All we did was start a coup against them and then support the revolutionaries and kind of just fight them. So it's crazy. At any rate, we go to declare war on Romania, however they are supported by the British and the French, which means we're probably going to have to pull some forces over to Belgium and the French border just to prevent anything totally crazy from happening, which would be a terrible issue, as we really don't want to get backdoored while we go ahead and just attack. So with that all said and done, we moved some forces over to the border, really just a small, I forget what exactly the word is, but just the force for really the idea that we're going to be defending that. Hopefully we won't actually have to fight the Allies, although honestly it's probably going to happen. We go ahead and just make sure that our air force is fully up to speed, generally just getting fighters in various areas. Hopefully they will do a decent job just securing our own country. Historically, Germany did have an advantage with fighter and air superiority in general in the very beginning of the war, so hopefully we'll have that long enough that we can just defeat the Western Allies if they do join. We do manage to just first of all declare war. Unfortunately, we didn't call in Hungary or Bulgaria, so all of our forces immediately pile to the small bit of our border that we actively control. The Allies did in fact join on the Romanian side, which means first of all that we're going to just send our fighters over to the various air control zones where hopefully they'll just kind of defend us, and we'll just kind of see how that goes for us in the future. It looks like it'll go decently well, so we're just going to hope for the best on that. And we may end up calling a few of our allies into the war. We also move our ships over so we can start just blockading the British with our submarines. We also go ahead and just ask Bulgaria and Hungary to join the war. That way we can just send our forces directly in. Still, all of our forces are just running around to the side, which is a bit upsetting to say the least. The Japanese also send us 7 groups, so that's pretty great. We also turn on air superiority mode for all of our air forces, and it's green, which indicates that we're winning. So that's pretty nice. Meanwhile, we're losing basically everywhere that our AI forces are attacking into Romania, where we can pleasantly see that all of our tanks are just kind of spread out and intermixed throughout the army in a way so as to make them entirely useless. So that's less than ideal. We also have absolutely nothing in the way of air support down there, so we do go ahead and just ship over a couple groups of close air support as well as a large group of fighters, and we're just going to have them fly around and do what they can. We have taken manual control over the Bulgarian into Romanian front, and that's going decently well for us. We also go ahead and add nationalist Spain to the Axis. We haven't called them in just yet though. Alright, so it looks like there aren't very many Romanian forces down in the south, so we are just kind of gunning it into them. We also go ahead and set our navy up to go and hopefully just convoy raid throughout really everywhere around the British Isles. Not so much the North Sea bit, because I can't imagine much of their trade comes through there. And alright, so we're just kind of generally attacking into the Romanians. It's going really poorly everywhere, but where we've taken direct control, and where we have taken direct control, it's going pretty well actually. So we're just kind of gunning it on in, and it looks as though it's going, yeah, once again, as I said, pretty well. We've encircled a small group, and really, other than the fact that the AI is just taking control over our units every time our orders to them are fulfilled, there's not very much that we need to worry about. I believe Spain just asked to be called into the war, and we did allow them. So Spain's in the war too. Hopefully that'll distract some French forces. And right, our air force is still holding up pretty well, which is great news. We go ahead and consider moving them up to the northern Baltics, or Balkans. However, we're not quite there just yet. Our armies, however, are just rolling on through Romania at this point. It looks as though it's going to be more or less a straightforward, just right on in invasion. We're not really following any of the set attack lines, although there's really not much that would have caused us to go through them anyway. So it's working decently well for us. We don't really need to worry about it so long as we can just fulfill the Romanian war quickly enough. Meanwhile, we are meeting a British Navy, which is somewhat interesting. It looks as though our entire submarine force is just an overwhelming match, and we sink basically that whole thing. I'm not sure at all what force or what size that was compared to the rest of the British military, or British Navy, but it looks like we did sink quite a bit. Meanwhile, Romania is just kind of collapsing in on itself with support of all of our forces, just bringing it into just sort of the maw. And we are cutting off more and more of their forces, so we'll hopefully be able to annex them with some decent speed. You'll notice we are still losing some of the battles. We just go ahead and lazily select troops just all around and send them in just giant chunks, which is not exactly the most strategic thinking, but it is working well. For whatever reason, our forces are attacking despite not having an attack order. It looks as though that's because the Japanese showed up and are just attacking the Maginot Line. And for whatever reason, our AI, despite being on defensive orders, decided they'd join in. So that's less than stellar. We are, however, doing well against the Romanians. We have encircled their capital, and we're just kind of smashing it with the full weight of the entire Wehrmacht. We also are trying to just intercept some British forces with just generally our navy, hoping that we'll be able to prevent whatever is about to go down. It looks as though Romania has capitulated. They do still have a bit over here near the coast. Hopefully we'll deal with that fairly quickly. And what we're going to do is, first of all, use all of these new factories to just build stuff wherever we can. Repurpose our air force a bit, get all of our forces away from the Balkans over up into the Belgian area, where we're going to do a whole lot of close air support and just air superiority and whatnot, and try to just roll on through the Belgians and just clear that whole area out. Alright, we do go ahead and mess with imports a bit. We're just importing things from the Soviet Union. We completely stop importing from the United States because really the British Navy could probably hurt our imports overseas quite a bit. I don't think they can really stop us from importing from the Soviet Union, though, since we do now have a border. Alright, with that all done, we just start selecting really any units that are either armored, motorized, or a different form of armored, and we are going to just get all of these forces and move them into a big clump. Now, why are we moving them all into a big clump? Basically because I don't want them to all just be scattered around, doing absolutely nothing, and just kind of launching themselves into really dumb and more or less pointless attacks. We do also go ahead and try to get the Hungarians to give us just a causeway. We have to ask both the Hungarians and the Bulgarians. They do give us a little strip, so now our lands all connect in a terribly ugly manner. However, connect they still do. We go ahead and see what sort of national decision we could take. We go ahead and just pick befriend Japan. And we're going to go ahead and just produce as much just stuff as we can. That means we have to go ahead and import even more. So we go ahead and switch away from the Soviet Union now, and we're switching to just neutral bits in Europe that we can hopefully trade as many resources as possible to us from. And we go ahead and just get this clump going. So the idea behind this clump is just to take away control of all of our really important units away from the AI. We go ahead and break 24 troops off, and we just put them underneath our best commander, our best general. We get the other forces and also put them under a good general, although they have slightly more troops than can be sustained. Alright, and with that said and done, we're going to go ahead and move our air control. Well, we don't actually have a control group. I don't even know if there are control groups in this game. But we move some air forces over to the Benelux region, and we just kind of move on in. Weirdly enough, there don't appear to be any defenders whatsoever in Belgium. So we're just going to keep going for it until we eventually run into them. So we're just kind of splitting our forces all up. And as this goes, our infantry is lazily following behind. There aren't even any Belgian forces in their capital, or really in their country at all. There's one group. So we go ahead and fight that one group, but we're just winning out loud, and the Belgians gave up. So now we're going to just kind of march over in the general direction of Paris, and I guess hand out German ID cards or something, since essentially we're just kind of France now. We're just kind of going through France, and there is literally not a single French troop anywhere. So yeah, we just kind of drove into Paris and I guess planted a flag somewhere. And yeah, there we go, fall of Paris. So that's pretty bad, I guess. It looks like there was some cavalry and maybe like an infantry group or something. Maybe it's just crowds of people wishing to say hello to our diplomats and get their German ID cards quicker. At any rate, we go ahead and just kind of keep handing out German ID cards, I guess, throughout all of the French territories. Looks like there are a couple places where French people are slowing us down and saying hello or whatever, but it looks like with our German efficiency, we've managed to get them ID cards too, and now the entire place is just part of Germany. So that's honestly kind of upsetting. I mean, as much as yeah, it's winning, but it's winning in a way that honestly feels a bit like losing. So, yeah, we go ahead and send some fighters over to northern France just to punch into the English a bit, make them, not actually be able to do anything. And we see if we can't get that one little sliver of territory away from Bulgaria, they won't give it to us. So that all said and done, we go ahead and trade some more resources. We have quite a few additional resources now since we have all of France, since we essentially diplo-annexed them by just sending our envoys to Paris and all that. They want to have Vichy France now. Honestly, we may as well. It'll make the rest of France have a civil war, and I honestly think they deserve it. So there we go. They can have some colonial civil war and just kind of do some soul-searching after that. And we're going to take the rest of our forces and just move them back against Poland, because at this point I think we can just kind of roll into Poland. We also get our clumps. We have 2 clumps of just armored units. We go ahead and just toss 6 tanks over to the AI so they can just do whatever they want with them. And we're going to just make 2 clumps of forces and send them over to Poland in their little alliance block, and probably just do the same thing we did to France to them. Rudolf Hess does his flight over to London, so we go ahead and replace him with someone different. And I don't imagine we're going to get peace with the British, although if I was British at this point, I would probably just accept that we're the second empire in the world and call it a day. Alright, so now all of our troops just have to vaguely go over into the Polish area, and I forgot how to deselect groups. I think you just shift left click them. But you see I'm having a lot of trouble with that. I do manage to figure it out, and I right-click the main force to just put any unassigned units in there. Turns out there weren't any. Everyone was assigned already. So yeah, we also go ahead and just justify a war goal to take 1 province of Poland. I figure we can probably just annex them when it's done. I'm not actually sure how that works. But honestly, at this point, I don't fear anything in this game. So we'll see if that's legitimate and if we can just roll through Poland's alliance block, and then I guess right on into the Soviet Union. And if we are able to just roll through the Soviet Union and just devastate everything like that, then no offense to anyone who really wanted to see this game be played, but I'll probably not make any more Hearts of Iron 4 speed plays if we manage to just win the war super easily. At any rate, though, we do go ahead and move some of our planes over to the Polish area. We'll get our Casus Belli pretty soon, and then we'll see how well they do against us. We have 2 clumps against Poland this time instead of the 1 clump against France. So we'll see how they do against 2 clump technology, which, yeah, could go either way. Who knows? We're also going to build up our airports over in the very far eastern bits of our country. And we have our war goal, so we're going to go ahead and just kind of roll on into them when we get back. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Sorry for the anticlimax.